me tell you a story about a man named Henry Alford. He was a defendant in a criminal case that carried the possibility of the death penalty. He claimed he was innocent, and he wanted to take his chances in front of a jury. But the prosecutor offered him a deal. He would take the death penalty off the table and instead would recommend a 30-year sentence. But in exchange for doing so, Alford would have to waive his constitutional right to trial and plead guilty. After reviewing the severity of the sentence that he was facing, Alford went to court and explained to the judge that he was innocent and he was only pleading guilty because they said they would gas him for it if he didn't. Now, before this case, the Supreme Court had said that guilty pleas have to be made by defendants voluntarily. So Alford appealed his conviction, arguing that his decision was not voluntary, and instead was coerced by his fear of the death penalty. But the Supreme Court disagreed and upheld his conviction. It said that just because Alford was afraid to die did not mean that he did not make a free and rational choice. Which begs the question, what is a voluntary plea? In this world of plea bargaining, where the threat of harsher punishments and sometimes even executions are hanging over defendants' heads. After reviewing the legal, philosophical, and psychological literatures, I discovered that there's no single clear definition of what it means for a decision to be voluntary. So I decided to explore that in my dissertation. I conducted a series of online studies in which nearly 3,000 community members participated in a decision-making task in which they were accused of a crime and offered a deal. My results showed that many innocent people were willing to waive their constitutional rights and accept a punishment for something that they didn't do in exchange for leniency. My results also showed that many people who wanted to exercise their rights were ultimately pushed into waiving them by their defense attorneys. And my results also showed that many people said they felt like they couldn't say no, that they didn't actually have a choice, and pled guilty even though they didn't want to. These results in my dissertation capture some of the realities for the 98% of defendants in real federal and state courts who waive their constitutional rights in exchange for plea deals. This system of pleas allows for innocent people to be punished for crimes that they didn't commit, and for defendants to be coerced into waiving their rights by the pressures and the powers of the criminal justice system. It's important that we pay attention to this process because our Constitution set up a criminal justice system that was meant to be based on a foundation of fair trials and checks on governmental power, but coerced pleas like these undermine that foundation and lead to a host of consequences for the people who find themselves wrapped up in it. Thank you.